If you've ever thought about releasing your music, you've undoubtedly at some point dealt with the elephant in the room. Spotify has gone a long way in making music more accessible to consumers in the past decade. But how has this music streaming experiment worked out for us, the music producers? Today we're taking a look at how streaming impacts music makers and why it might not be the best platform for most musicians. Caveat: while I'm specifically targeting Spotify in this video, I'm doing so simply because it enjoys an almost monopoly in its industry. My arguments still hold against all other music streaming platforms, simply because they haven't done enough to differentiate themselves from King S. The first hurdle to releasing music involves something that every creative person enjoys: bureaucracy. Before your music is able to make its way to the listener's ears, you must first go through the process of choosing a music distributor who will meet both your short-term and long-term goals, and then paying for that service. Which sounds ridiculous, as music is the only type of content in this day and age that requires a middleman. Even the archaic phrase music distributor conjures up images of a company taking your file uploads, copying them to flash drives, and then distributing them by postal pigeon service to data centers of music streaming platforms. Now, I'm fully aware that distributors are providing services which the music streaming platforms are unable to carry out for whatever reason. And perhaps the most important service they provide of all is royalty tracking. I'm not going to bother calculating how much music streaming platforms pay musicians per stream, because that number is likely going to change by the time this video is out. But suffice to say, you'll need a couple of thousand streams just to pay for the costs of distribution. And you'll need hundreds of thousands of monthly streams just to begin covering your monthly living expenses. But hey, at least your music is out there for everyone to hear. Congratulations, your song is now among 100,000 others that got released on that same day. And the chance of your music getting discovered without any additional effort can be represented in the shape of a big fat fucking Irish potato. Now what? The first step involves pitching your music to Spotify's editorial playlist and hoping you win the lottery, because you're competing against all the other popular artists who have major label backing. In case that doesn't work, curator playlists are your next big bet on making the big streams. Now, I won't be talking about that too much because that's not something I've ever endeavored to try due to the many hurdles that present themselves along the way. Dependence on third-party playlist pitching services, paying to get featured, which is explicitly against Spotify's terms of service yet is very omnipresent, and the risk of getting inundated by fake streams and facing the consequences. Combining all those together seems like a massive waste of time with little return for the effort. A much more effective way of bringing listeners to stream your songs is the good old-fashioned way of playing live, grinding it out in social media, and running ads. The success of these approaches can vary widely between musicians and genres. So let me know in the comments what approach has worked for you when trying to grow a fan base. But hold on a sec. Literally, what is the fucking point of sending people to listen to your music on Spotify anyway? If someone consciously searched for your music and hit play, the only reason they did that on Spotify is because it's enjoying a short stint as the place to listen to music. Turn back the clock 15 years and they would have downloaded an MP3. Turn back the clock another 10 years and they might have bought your CD. But what happens when someone streams your song due to it being featured on a playlist or getting recommended by Spotify's holy algorithm? How many people will stop to think about what they're listening to go deeper into the story behind the music, to seek out a more meaningful relationship with the artist? Spotify is notorious for doing everything in their power to block communication between the listener and the musician, trying desperately to keep users on their platform for as long as possible. So even if you do achieve streaming success by getting a larger number of monthly listeners and earning a paltry sum, how many will buy your merch, visit your live shows, or even stay in touch after Spotify reaches the end of its lifespan? While there is no easy answer for this question, I'm going to walk the talk and say that I only release my music on Bandcamp and YouTube, which of course comes with its own drawbacks. uploading music to be streamed on YouTube or YouTube Music instead of Spotify, with the purpose of giving people easy access to stream your music, is simply substituting one techno corp for another. Although for one that has been around much longer than Spotify and has been able to, turn a profit. Now, when it comes to Bandcamp, it has long been a champion of the independent musician. But having been sold and then resold again to new owners with dubious priorities, it's unclear whether Bandcamp will be able to keep up with their former glory in the coming years. As of recording this video, there's been no clear sign that Bandcamp has begun to slip up. But if that were to change, my sincere hope is that several other similar platforms will be able to spring up to take its place without the curse of venture capital behind its back. Now, there are two reasons why I prefer this direct-to-fan model over streaming. It lets you connect directly with fans, build relationships, and sell music without the middleman taking a huge chunk. And second, it's all about the album experience. Fans are inclined to listen to the whole record, appreciate the flow, connect deeper with the music, and perhaps discover some hidden gems along the way. Just like back in the good old days. It seems like musicians have been pushed into the streaming corner without any consideration for their needs, and have been forced to fight a losing battle instead of putting most of their energy into what really matters, which is creating meaningful art. If what I'm saying is making a whole lot of sense, then hit that like button, because that's what it's for. While it may sound radical to some, my hot take is that this whole music streaming experiment just might turn out to be one of the biggest scams in the history of the music industry, propping up big label gluttony while continuously exploiting small and independent artists. While I see myself as a storyteller and artist primarily, there's really no reason for me to participate in this type of ecosystem. The big challenge, therefore, is putting music in front of listeners while building lasting relationships. Just the way it's always been. And that's going to be the main theme of my upcoming videos, so hit subscribe if that interests you, and I'll see you around.